Yeah, good morning, comrades and friends. You know, how important was our party's election campaign? Some of you are here because Monica and Lamont or John Parker or Sharon Black reached out to you and their campaign workers, and you found out about our party through this great campaign that we had this year. So please, left Democrats, you know, I understand you feel bad, we all do, but don't tell our party not to run candidates. Pardon us, excuse us politely, we would like to build our party instead of the Democratic Party. And we want to work with you when we can on issues, but you know, if you want to be captive of a capitalist party, well, this is your business, but don't drag us into it. You know, let us organize amongst the workers and the oppressed on a revolutionary, independent basis. You know, and we'll get along. You know, and just a shout out to those candidates. They did such a tremendous job. Comrades in the, wow, this room looks great. You know, people always say that, but most of the time it's true, and certainly true today. I want to say a little bit about the big picture in terms of what happened last Tuesday. It's important for a party such as ours, a revolutionary communist party, right here at the center of world imperialism. Yes, U.S. imperialism is weakening, and it's not the way it was, you know, some time ago, but it still is the center of world imperialism. Don't kid yourself. And socialists, communists, and revolutionaries who do their organizing at the center of world imperialism, we used to call it the belly of the beast. They have an extra special responsibility to understand the global character of events. Actually, communists and socialists and revolutionaries all over the globe should try to understand the interaction of events on a global basis, but especially here, because what we do or don't do is often very decisive, in a good way or in a bad way. This Trump election was not just a national event, it was a global event. Actually, Trump is now the new global face of capitalism. I believe that some of the activists who are floating the idea of a general strike on January 20th, and we'll talk about that later. You know, maybe it's a symbolic thing, but it's a great idea, you know. They want it to be a global strike. We don't know if that's possible, but I'll tell you, it's awesome. It's awesome, and it's just what the doctor called for. The rise of Trump is part of the implosion of the capitalist political establishment, especially in the big imperialist countries, here and in Europe, their parties. It's being driven by high technology globalization that is destroying the jobs and destroying the health and shortening the lives of more and more workers. You'll fight about it every day. And the political problem is that the Democratic Party and its counterpart in other countries, parties who used to call themselves social democratic and like the Democratic Party of the New Deal, you know, was supposed to represent the workers. And they haven't been doing that for a long, long time and really never did it. You understand? Really never did it. For some time now, have been doing just the opposite and even throwing off the pretense of it, and instead of representing the workers, have become the enablers, the agents of what some people call neoliberalism, or whatever the needs of capitalism are, austerity, take jobs from one place to another where you have cheaper labor, reduce jobs with technology, but just more and more of an attack on the working class. Take their homes, take everything, take health care, and so forth. And because of this, sections of the working class are abandoning the Democrats and the Social Democrats and are fodder for right-wing, racist, neo-fascist demagogues all around the world. They're literally being handed by the Democratic Party to fascists like Donald Trump. See, we need to talk the truth. See, it's not our fault. It's the Clintons' fault. It's Obama's fault too. I was happy when he was elected, but we got to be honest here. They have delivered a section of the class. And it doesn't have to be that way. And we got proof of that this year. 7-8 months ago, when was the Michigan primary and the Wisconsin primary? Right, exactly. The workers in Michigan and Wisconsin voted for Bernie Sanders. Now, Bernie Sanders was just trying to save the Democratic Party, so we're not for him. That's another problem. That said, though, he has a reputation as a self-identified social democrat of some type, and in this country, you don't see a candidate calling himself any kind of socialist running for president. And the fact that a lot of these workers who voted for Trump a few days ago voted for Bernie Sanders a few months ago, it shows you that it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Workers can go this way or they can go that way, A lot of workers did not come out to save the Democratic Party. It wasn't just white workers. A lot of black workers didn't come out. They thought they were coming out, but a lot of black workers said, things are too bad. Things are too bad here in Flint. We don't even have, drinkable water. Why should I vote, for the Democrats, Obama came here and had a glass of water and told everybody it was okay. And we were looking around at each other going, what? Oh, forget about Flint, no more problem, I think it was Michael Moore who, we don't agree with him on a lot of things. I think he wants to revive the Democratic Party too. Maybe somebody can give me a heads up on that, But I heard him in an interview recently where he said that 90,000 voters in Michigan who voted the Democratic Party ticket for some reason did not vote for a presidential candidate. 90,000 voters. Who knows what that's about? But obviously there was a dearth of enthusiasm out there, see. But let me get to the serious point I need to raise in a little time I have left. Comrades and friends, I want to speak to you as a communist, because communists are supposed to know the problems of the working class. They're supposed to have a deep understanding of this, the deepest understanding of anyone. It's only in that way that they can have some answers and provide some leadership. Comrades and friends, we must not let racists and fascists take any sector of our class away. We cannot allow it to happen. We cannot allow it to happen. We must fight it. We must stop it. We will not have our class split. No, no, no. And we must understand that first and foremost, this is a class issue. People don't talk about it in terms of class, but I think we have to talk about it. Otherwise, it's confusing. And talking about it as a class issue gives it clarity. See, maybe in order to do this, help hold our class together, we have to just review who's in our class, because ideas about that change, you know. And it's not only backward white workers who may not think that some people that we think is in the working class are in the working class, but even some progressive trade unionists, because they have some traditional ideas of who's in the working class, may not realize that the working class is changing. You know, it's growing, and there are new sectors of it. Monica said in her speech, the Black Lives Matter movement is a working class movement. It's not a secondary thing. The cops and the state have declared war on black and brown people of all ages, but particularly young people, because in this phase of capitalist decay, capitalism has no jobs for them. So they're expendable. So take them off to the prison industrial complex and sometimes just murder them. It's a class issue. And everybody who thinks that they are fighting for the working class should be up front in those demonstrations against police terror. Standing Rock is a working class issue. These are our oppressed Native sisters and brothers fighting for their land. This is an anti-imperialist working class issue. Fighting for the rights of prisoners is a class issue. Why? Because prisoners are workers. And there should have been more support for their strike. Our migrant sisters and brothers, whether they come from Mexico or Pakistan or Africa or somewhere in the Middle East, no matter what language they speak and what they look like and the food that they eat, they are part of our class. They are not enemies. They're not competitors. They're not taking jobs. They are our sisters and brothers, whether they are in Paris, or whether they are in London, or whether they are in North Carolina, Texas, or New York City. There are no borders in the working class struggle. Our party needs to explain to a lot of people that women, lesbian, gay, bi, and trans, queer, and gender non-conforming people are part of the working class. And those leftists who dismiss them as identity politics, I question them as Marxists and revolutionaries. Do you know what their struggle is rooted in? It is an historic struggle, a life and death struggle. And finally, the ranks of those in the forefront of it are growing in ways that none of us have ever seen. And those of us of a certain age are glad that we lived long enough to see LGBTQ people rising from the back and in the shadow and coming to the front. This is part of the struggle against patriarchy. This is part of the struggle against patriarchy. This is part of the struggle against patriarchy. What is patriarchy? What is it? It's a pillar of class rule. Whose class? The capitalist class. You break down that pillar, that's for the workers. That's for revolution. And perhaps most important, we need to deepen the understanding, not just the understanding, but we need to do something about it. It has to turn into understanding, means practice. That our class is a global class, especially with the Trumps and the neo-fascists in France and Brexit in Britain and other formations in Greece and in Germany and all over. They're having elections in Europe. And you thought that Brexit, was a shock. The Trump election was a big shock, and it has emboldened the racists and neo-fascists all over Europe. That's why it's a global development. We have to drive it home that we are a global class. We have no borders. We have no borders. Some of us think, and I'm just thinking out loud, pardon me, excuse me, that maybe our party, and we have a perfect name, Workers' World Party. Workers' World Party. That our party should launch a Workers of the World Unite campaign that holds events and protests to raise up the different sections of our class. Maybe one time with migrant workers, maybe one time with LGBTQ workers, maybe another time with fast food workers, and explain that we got to stop looking at ourselves as well. We're citizens of this country. We're Americans, or we're this or that. To a certain extent, you can't get around that, and you have to address the needs of workers where you live. So, practically, we're always talking about the workers of Philadelphia going on strike, the workers of North Carolina fighting for this, the workers of this city, the workers for that. So, we understand that, but don't get so caught up in that. Don't get so caught up in that you forget that our class is a global class. And at this point, that's not abstract, unimportant information. It is urgent that we understand that and organize on that basis on some level, because that's how capitalism is pitting workers against each other. And you're going to feel, as bad as it's been, you're going to feel and hear and experience more of it. We've got to fight it. We got to come up with some new ways to practice internationalism. I don't necessarily have any fresh ideas, but it can't just be sending a statement of solidarity. That's nice. We got to, a couple of years ago, the fast food workers, yes, I thought this was really, really interesting. They tried to have a global strike. Some of y'all remember that? I think it was in 2014. Now, the strike was symbolic. It wasn't like millions of workers and they closed all the McDonald's and a lot of these chains are global chains. Anyway, it was symbolic. Many thousand, maybe even millions when you add it all up. But it was a simultaneous action in 30 countries. And I said, wow, that was incredible. I think we should study this call. I mean, we're going to Washington on January 20th and rock it. But I think we should study this global general strike, because you know what? While technology has atomized the working class because they need fewer workers to run things, to produce things, and workplaces are smaller and they're constantly changing, and workers don't stay in one job because that's the way it is. What they call precarious work now, But workers, because of new technology, are able to communicate with each other instantaneously, and therefore they're able to organize on a local basis, on a national basis, on a regional basis, and on a world basis. So it is more practical today to have a global general strike than it was some time ago. We should talk more about this. Actually, we need to have a new model for a general strike. It can't just be, leave your work. Of course, that's always important to a general strike. But what about more and more of our class that doesn't have any jobs and not in a union or temps? That's more and more of our class. They have to find a way to participate in a general strike. Am I right? So we got to think about it. Finally, just to wrap up, what's been happening in the streets, and they're out there today too. They're out there today. I'm talking about these thousands mostly young people, maybe some other people, but mostly young people, multinational, I'd say, out there rocking the streets, cities all over the country. They have made such a big contribution in these few days after the triumph of Trump, temporary, and it's gotten worldwide attention. And the bourgeoisie is worried about it. They're having a counter demonstration. You know what their counter demonstration is? That's Obama meeting Trump and Clinton making a nice statement, and the media. I mean, I don't know if y'all can even listen to the press without just, getting sick. But how many times have you heard, oh, well, we have a tremendous tradition in this democracy of peaceful transition. And we have to he is our president, and so we have to give him a chance. So don't say anything and don't have demonstrations. You know what that is? That's the imperialists uniting behind their candidate. Yesterday he was a monster, a racist, a misogynist, and today, well, he's our president. We must give him a chance. We're not giving him a chance. No peace. No peace. No Trump. No peace. No Trump. Sisters and brothers, we are going to build that massive counter-inauguration protest on January 20th. We are going to figure out a way with allies all around the country to form defense committees so that our Muslim sisters and brothers, our immigrant sisters and brothers, our black sisters and brothers, our LGBTQ sisters and brothers, women do not have to be in fear. The children who are where there's racist demonstrations against them. We are going to shut this down. You know something? Trump has started something. We're going to finish it. We're going to finish it. He got elected. And it's a big problem. It's effed up. It's effed up. But you know what? Sometimes we can turn this kind of a development into an opportunity to make revolutionary gains. Because we're not just, our primary job right now may be to defend those sectors of our class and our community that are under attack. We got to do that. But maybe, just maybe we can turn this reaction into revolution for us. And in order to do that, let it be known that Workers' World Party is willing to work with any honest force, united front, whatever, against fascism, for socialism. We're completely open. It's all open, to participate, to do whatever we need to do. This is no time for sectarianism. This is no time for, just my organization, I mean, we understand that. We do that too. We're trying to build our organization. Thank you for being here. But we got to think bigger and bolder, because this is a big problem, and we're prepared to do what is necessary. We will not help rebuild the Democratic Party. That's out. And we will try to use this problematic political development and turn it into revolution for socialism. Excuse us very much. Thank you.